Welcome back, everybody. My name's Chris Fisher. I just recently acquired a 1964 Triumph TR4 that I'm going to be restoring over the next several years, probably. Before we get started, I would like to say thanks to everybody. I recently went over 3,000 subscribers, probably about a month or so ago, so I really appreciate all the continued support, even when I wasn't putting out videos all that often. So hopefully now we're going to pick up a little bit more. But now, let's see what lies beneath. Thanks for watching. So I got into the glove box and found a whole bunch of paperwork. So you can see in here that obviously the glove box has had some visitors at some point. Got an old business card for the gentleman that owned it back in the early 2000s. Looks like he had it on the road for 2000, 2001, 2, and 3, and then somewhere sold it. I did find the guy on LinkedIn, believe it or not. So I haven't reached out to him or anything yet. That might be in the future plans. I don't know. I doubt very strongly based on everything that he's the original owner, but who knows, he might have been the second. But just, you know, it's always kind of neat to find that stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and get this mouse stuff out of here, make sure there's no other valuable things in there. Found the brake switch there that goes off the pedal. You can see there that white piece that's been replaced, so obviously this other brake switch failed or didn't, something happened to it, obviously. We'll see if we can get that working again, but yeah, we'll go ahead and get this cleaned up and then see what we got from there. So some of the things I learned from Dorothy, even though I kind of knew better, especially at the beginning, I didn't really retain or maintain a log with the disassembly stuff. I took pictures, but not as you know, as carefully and as completely as I should have. But I'm going to do this one differently. I'm going to keep a log of what I take off and where, you know, number bags and stuff like that. I'm going to have a spreadsheet that one of the guys that I found, JP, he's got I can't remember the name, Max Garage. He's restoring a TR3 that his actual father-in-law, believe it or not, was the original owner of. So how cool is that? But he's got a channel and a spreadsheet that he shared with me, kind of help keep track of stuff. I'll put a little link up in the little click to his page there. So go ahead and give him a shot. But Chef Tush has got the logs. He's always been very meticulous about that kind of stuff. So I'm going to try to mimic that and take more care, especially since I still think this guy here hasn't probably been disassembled, at least not easily seen. So we'll see what happens. A couple things I also will point out here. You can see the white that's kind of coming through here. So some might think, well, maybe the fenders all got replaced, and they might have. But you got the white here, and then you got white on the door. You got some white. I can't tell if that's white or bare metal there, but I know in Dorothy the primer underneath was white. So I have a feeling that the white doesn't really tell me anything about if these fenders are original or not to the car. I think the thing that's going to tell me is when I get it off and how it looks. So I'm just going to kind of flip a coin here. I'm going to go with this driver's side front and try to take that off. Workshop manual's pretty quick and dirty on these. You can see it's pointing out the screws, the A screws, and then the C and B, the bolts in there, and it's just several of them. So I'll show you on the car. So again, you got those flathead screws, the pan head screws that run there, and then you got bolts down here. There's one there, two down there, and then the other ones are up underneath down there, up as they go under the sill. Now it says to remove the bumper, the front bumper, and I don't see where they are connected, so I'm going to try not to do that. Maybe, I don't know if it's just so you don't smack into it as you lift the thing off or what, but I'm going to try not to do that. So we'll go ahead and get started. All right, appear to be 7/16 bolts. So it appears to be captive nuts, except for maybe the topmost one. No, that's captive nut. Yeah, all looks like captive nuts. You can see in this corner there they used a lot of Bondo, so it looks like they used a slide hammer because there's like little worms of Bondo. I'll show you when I get the thing off. Anyway, 7/16 if I didn't say that. Don't want to break anything. So my intention is to really try to save all the hardware. Again, with Dorothy, I just kind of willy-nilly disconnected stuff and you know, chuck bolts that were rusty and stuff like that. I really want to try to save all of this stuff I have intentions on doing my own zinc plating and all sorts of little dreams for this car. So go ahead and get some WD-40 on there, just get that loosened up. Alright, let that soak for a little bit. See what we got going on over here. Alright, so as best as you can kind of tell there, that's just essentially like a really coarse threaded screw. Obviously countersunk. So that just, there's little spire nuts behind that. The one down by the headlamp is going to be a pain to get out, but I think the other ones will come out. So the workshop manual shows 9 of those screws up top. I only got 8 showing, which means there's probably one sitting in the passenger compartment, so I'll see if I can find that. Alright, so it's not a little flathead screw, it's just that little bolt here. Now, the first one is for the windscreen, and the second one is for the fender. You can see it's got a big flat fender washer on it. It may be for the windscreen too, but for now anyway. So that'll come off. And then the bolts on the side and the bottom. So you can kind of see here the bolts underneath. One there, one in the middle, and one on the end. And you can see some roots and stuff growing out of there, so there might be a tree under here, I don't know. But yeah, I got some cancer here in this little corner, some bubbling and everything, so these definitely are going to need some work underneath of here. Hopefully not much. The real indicator is going to be what's behind this when I get this off. That's going to tell the tale, I think. So this is the front here, and inside the wheel arch, you can see that little guy right there, just tucked up in that corner. How easy do you think it is to get a wrench in there? It's not. Bloody Brits, it's not. Alright, so kind of learning as I go here. So you got these flathead screws and then one bolt across the top, 2 bolts down here, and then I picked up 2 more in here that it doesn't show, and then these 3 guys here are inside the A-post, but you got to get to them from inside the car. I'll show you that. Alright, so like there's the one that's kind of pointing out at us, another one up there, down there, and another one way up there. Still all 7/16, so I'll go ahead and get a wrench on these guys. Now these are the last bolts that I've got, so I'm going to put a screw or 2 across the top here just to suspend it. So I'm not positive, but I think that's the last of the bolts. So I got those 2 screws that's holding it suspended here. So hopefully I'll undo those and this whole thing will lift off. All right. So the places you're going to look for. Where's my hand? Down here. I expect to have holes in here on the A-post area, and then up at the front here, I didn't see anything forward of the wheel. So I don't know, but yeah, if it's going to be rotted out, it's going to be in here. Feels like I got something hanging up in here. There we go. You're looking at it before I'm seeing it. Alright. Now again, so as I pointed out, where I expected there's the dirt and roots, where I expected the most damage to be, it is. So right in there. So definitely is going to need some work. But the rest of this stuff looks halfway decent. So on this here, there's like a piece of rubber that was all corroded and brittle and everything in here, so that's all that came off. And then I don't know what this hose is. I imagine it's a ventilation drain or something like that. I don't know. That's one on the other side as well, I believe. So it looks like this is a separate piece here. That's bolted in, but I don't see any damage. I'm thinking that looks pretty good. So obviously down there looks like there's some holes in there. All right, I'm gonna here's all that heavy rubber stuff that goes in here. Still has the clips. So I'm gonna go ahead and get everything kind of bagged up and tagged up, get everything written down where stuff was, and come back and do some cleanup and see what it looks like. Bottom post there that's messed up. I gotta get the sills out that I have and see what it looks like. All right, so I'm in the A-post here, front of the A-post. There's that drain line. So you can see here where there's obviously some holes there, and obviously huge amounts all in there. What I think the kind of good thing here is, however, is here's the replacement sill, and you can see that that's got a pretty good lip running there, and this goes the entire length of the car all the way in the back. That hole right there is where that rear fender would bolt in. These three up here where the front fender bolts in. If you look at it, because of that lip goes in and up. So I have a feeling that this piece right here is still sound, and I won't have to worry about repairing the bottom of this. Everything else looks pretty solid except for that sill. Doesn't look like there's any rust getting into the A-post there in the front of the A-post. Obviously the sill is not good. And then looking around the rest, this piece seems to unbolt completely, and there's the little clips for that big heavy rubber seal just to keep gunk out of there, I suppose. Doesn't look like any of the accident damage from that front there got into the part of the grill or anything like that. Some of it's got some dents and stuff in it. You can obviously see the overspray here was resprayed, but that looks halfway decent. So I got it cleaned up, and really that's the extent of the damage. So I'm not too, or I'm pretty happy with that. I think that's pretty solid. So now I'm going to go over and put the fender up on the workbench here, and we'll look at that real quick. Overall, I would say it's in pretty good shape. Not no areas of horrible concern. So you can see right here that it looks like it finally had come through there. There's a pretty good amount of pitting in here. It gets better as you move back. There's like a little indentation or something there. That almost looks intentional. Don't know what that's for. But then it doesn't look bad at all. There's obviously going to have to be some metal replacement there, and then all of the internals here where you didn't get any undercoating. Little piece of Bondo there, so there's a little dent there, but that's just barely. Knock that out with a hammer from the backside here. All these clips look good. All the edges look good. They don't look rusted out at all. Nice and solid. Then you get up here and you get into the accident damage a little bit. So this is all messed up in here. This it looks like metal, but then Bondo in here, so that I'll have to get all that out of there and cleaned up. That's probably going to be a real pain in the rear to fix, just because that's a complex curve and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not too sure about that. But you can see all the worms from the Bondo. So this fender didn't come off to repair it. That's pretty obvious. But the lip looks good. A couple dents here and there in the roll lip of the fender, but it looks solid. No rust that's eaten through anyway. So you can see the undercoating is peeling in a lot of places, but that's okay. So yeah, hopefully the rest of the car looks like this. I'm sure there's going to be spots that are worse, but I think for the most part this is looking pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and get all the little clips and stuff off of here, just so I can get them segregated and get them out of here. I don't intend on putting the fender back on. Maybe I don't know, maybe leave one or two in just so I can tack it on if I want to move stuff around, but I don't really see a point in that. Just stack it up in the back there. Yeah, I'm happy with what I found today. So these are those spire nuts. This is across the top of the fender, or the wing, and this is where those screws go into. Sometimes these can be a real pain in the rear to get off. So what I found is just use a metal putty knife and kind of sneak it up underneath here. And you just got to kind of work it back and just give it a good hit or two. And eventually you'll get it to where it's, sometimes it'll come off before this, but eventually you'll get it to where it's just hitting the bottom. You just bang it and it'll pop right off. Because they're sprung a little bit and there's little grippies and everything like that on it. It's not incredibly easy, and it will definitely scratch up your paint. Decided to knock out the Bondo through the slide hammer holes, and looks like it got shot at with a bunch of little BBs. So yeah, there's quite a bit of filler on there. I don't know, at least 1/4 of an inch or so in spots. But so obviously that damage goes all the way to the bottom here, and there's a bubble right here. So that'll take a good amount of hammer and dolly work to get all that out, and obviously I got to fill all the holes and all that, but that's obviously down the road a bit. But otherwise, I'm really happy with the shape of the fender. Talking about those spire nuts or spire clips, there's one back here. This piece right here is like a little strengthener piece, and that's separate. You can see where they brazed it on there. So I can't get to that to get it out, and I'm not going to, but just wanted to point that out that you might not be able to get to that one. But all the other ones are out. There's little splits here. I assume that that's supposed to be that way, if for nothing else than to let the curve of the fender start to go so that you can get the metal close together. All the other ones are solid. These little holes here are where the screws went through. That was where I was having problems getting it out with a little bumper. So they obviously just barely caught the fender there. So that'll be something to look out for, I guess, when I'm putting it back together. And then the big slotted guy back here, that's where that bolt went for, that was next to the windscreen at the top of the door. All right, everybody, that's all I got. Thanks for watching. Leave a comment below. Tell me what you think. Well, obviously happy with the initial look and the condition underneath the, inside the driver's A-post there, and then all in that area, in the wing area. I really don't have a reason to believe that the rest of the car is not going to be comparable. I'm sure there's going to be spots that are worse or better, but overall, pretty happy. So I think I might have gotten a good buy on this one. We'll see how it goes. Thanks for watching again. Have a good rest of your day. Cheers.